Hello and hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to EU RLCS week number 3 breakdown. I hope you guys all enjoy. If you're new here, well, welcome. What we do every week is we break down a quick summary for all of you, as well as giving out 4 awards, that being the MVPs, the team of the week, the plays of the week, and very lastly, the underwhelming team of the week so far, and very different from North America. Each and every week on Monday, I break down North America as well as Europe, and so far we have seen very few teams in North America actually shine. It still remains our 3 kings, that being Cloud9, NRG, and G2, far ahead of everyone else. But Europe is a bit of a different story. Although we have, one well-defined victor right now, that being Vitality, who has exploded this season offensively, both pace-wise and scoring-wise, has been stellar over the past at least 2 weeks, if you want to include week 1 as well. But over the past 2 weekends, really have been impressing me. We also have Dignitas, for the first time, they have taken 3 weeks to pick up their first win. Barcelona facing another defeat as well against the series with TSM. And surprisingly enough, in game 1, it was actually Barca who had 8 unanswered goals and still lost that series, so that was pretty crazy. TSM, they split 1-1 this past weekend, and with that being said, we have Vitality, the only remaining undefeated team so far. Behind them, just barely, is TSM at 3-1, and besides those 2 teams, every single team in EU right now is split apart by just 1 game, which is crazy to see. I cannot wait to see what's actually going to happen these next couple of weeks out there, but it's going to be pretty amazing. But as always, I hope you guys all enjoy. Let's break down our first award, that being the MVPs of this week number 3. And my first one has to be Scrub Killer. All around the board, the amount of times he can actually set his teammates up, but also be an offensive threat. I believe actually placing top 3 for Golden Striker as well as clutch playmaker of this week as well. Scrub Killer, I will show you guys his plays of the week very shortly here as well. Has to be an all-around MVP for myself, followed very shortly by Yukio. Now, a lot of you guys might be thinking, a particular teammate of his actually had a pretty good time in that series as well, that being Turbo. But yes, Turbo offensively probably had the majority of their goals, but Yukio, game 1 and game 2 against Mouse Sports, I think his impact was much further than that of Turbo, and he certainly carried them in that series to an impactful 3-0 sweep of Mouse Sports, which is probably expected from Dignitas. But I think between those 2 players, I'm going to slightly give the edge for MVP to Yukio over Turbo Pulsa. And then very lastly, kind of a nominal MVP that I like to do for TSM, although they split their series out there, I think Metzenaris actually could have, possibly had a victory to deal with that team once they played Vitality in that second series. He actually carried them to a game 3 victory. He popped off, I believe, 4 goals in that game 3, and then Metzenaris almost held on for game 4, forcing an overtime as well. Just not enough. The rest of the team was not there. That series, although on paper, and you might have said offensively paced-wise, offensively possession-wise, was very much dominated by Vitality. I think if anyone on that team besides Metzenaris also pops off a little bit, especially look towards a player like Ignite, that series would have been much closer, if not in their favor. So I think Metzenaris did just about everything he possibly could, especially in the later half of that series. So I'm going to give out a nominal MVP to Metzenaris, looking very dominant as well. Although they split the weekend 1-1, still very effective. And once Ignite does pop off, as per usual, it's a very threatening team to deal with, that being TSM. But bouncing off that, guys, into our teams of the week as well. And Vitality, of course, has to be your number 1 pick for team of the week. 2 more wins here. They remain undefeated in doing so, I would say, mostly in pretty dominant fashion. Like I said previously, they have found this new fast pace, right? The Bricks can keep up with that fast pace at times, but seemingly no team right now can keep up with that pace, that fast counter attack, and just an overall fast offensive pace throughout the entire game. It has served them very well. They remain 5-0 undefeated, and it seems like K-Dot, he was not the problem for the Dignitas roster. It almost seems like he was the solution they needed, and he has now actually put that solution on a brand new trio here in Vitality. They remain their dominant streak so far, and I cannot wait to watch these guys each and every week. Now, alongside them, speaking of his former team, that being K-Dot and Dignitas, I'll give it to them as well. Although we probably expected this result against Mouse Sports, one of my weaker teams going into this season. I believe even my last place season team going into this season was actually Mouse Sports, going up against my number 1 Dignitas. A very expected 3-0 sweep here, but nonetheless, it's still their first victory, so I'll give them the team of the week as well. Alongside them, very lastly, triple trouble with the reverse sweep against PSG, and this is a huge victory. If you look at, I'll talk about later on as well when we get to underwhelming teams out there, especially a team like the Bricks so far. This victory is so huge in terms of avoiding relegation matches at the very least. If teams can get 2 to 3 to maybe even possibly possibly 4 wins, but usually 3 will be enough. It's a huge number to actually get over that hump where you don't even need to play for relegation matches. You secure your spot for next season, and with this win over PSG, the reverse sweep doing so, Triple Trouble is now probably just 1 game away from at least securing their spot into next RLCS season. So a huge victory here for Triple Trouble, and one that I was not expecting whatsoever. I think PSG, unfortunately enough, after their dominant performance against Dignitas last week in that 3-0 sweep, although a couple of those matches were closer than we thought, this is still a huge victory and one that a lot of us just didn't see coming. And like I said earlier, Scrub is one of my MVPs, and along with that, he's definitely one of my several players out there for plays of the week. But I'm going to give you guys 3 plays from Scrub Killer himself: an amazing save, a double tap, and along with that, a coordination between him and K-Dop, which we have seen so many times this season.
Teams from time. Metzenaris back to ignite, shot on. Scrub Killer rolls it out. K-Dop gets the follow-up. Can he get back to his own clear? He can. Vitality keep the scoreline within.
To intercept. Now Fairy Peak back over. Scrub Killer airborne as well. Onto the backboard. Mystics there, but doesn't find it. And Scrub Killer is happy to double tap that one down to adjust in game number 3.
And it's all the challenge game for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Beautiful. K-Dop and Scrub Killer styling on him. Watch this setup. Scrub Killer finds K-Dop on the backboard. He's like, here you go, Scrub. Have another one.
Right back
what a
down.
play.
Go get it.
Okay.
And then we have Yukio in game 2 of their series against Mouse Sports. I told you guys mechanically he was looking very, very sound and also very impactful on that series itself. And one of those mechanical plays I was going to talk about is this fake pass.
But nothing that involves a goal. We just saw a lot of solo plays, but Yukio has been a reactive player.
And Yukio, look at this. He telegraphs the pass into the middle, but ends up going for the shot.
And a very, very curious moment as well. Not really a play of the week necessarily, but definitely a play that many mistakes out there made by Barca as well. A series they certainly could have taken, especially after their strong start against TSM. Unfortunately enough, though, just not capitalizing on that. It's actually going to be Alpha with this very, very odd play.
Trying to get the challenge. Ignite off the backboard to Metza towards net.
Alpha?
And Alpha just hitting the brakes.
He just stopped. Still a great pass and shot. But
What?
Alpha could have saved it, right?
What on earth? Alpha just hits the brakes.
And then very lastly, closing out the video, guys, underwhelming for me so far. Looking at the standings, you could name just about any team that has 1 or 2 victories as somewhat underwhelming, but a few of those teams actually land exactly where you thought they were going to be. Now, the Bricks, formerly of Flipside, are not one of those teams. Unfortunately enough, I'm putting them underwhelming-wise because they cannot close out a series against PSG in Game 5. Very unfortunate news, especially because this is a team who is not playing necessarily poorly throughout the season so far. A lack of, exactly, I guess you could say timing here and there. Along with that, a few mistakes, and series could go different ways. But nonetheless, they are teams who cannot actually close out these Game 5s and actually get the victories they needed. You go back to week 1, I believe this team was playing on high ping. At least one of their members was at the very least, and could have definitely cost them that series. Along with that, a lack of victory so far. And you look at their remaining schedule, and that's where it gets very scary. Now, you drop a series to Vitality. At this point, no one's surprised by that. The PSG series, though, when you look at before this season rankings wise, where Flipside, when they formerly were of that team, where they were, especially compared to PSG, it was not very close in those rankings, and certainly a matchup you would always favor the Bricks in. I'm not sure what is going on here. You saw game 1 Mystic not hitting shots. He had plenty of shot opportunities, just not landing those. Maybe that could come into play. He's always been the linchpin of the team. If he pops off, this team reaches new leaps and bounds. But when he's not there, when he's not present, when Cuxer maybe lacks on defense a little bit, when speed's not going off like he was over the past couple months scoring wise, we see this Bricks roster really struggle. And along with that, you look at their upcoming schedule, and it is very, very dangerous. They face off against Barca next week, and Barca is pretty desperate for a victory themselves. And you would say in terms of, I guess, recency, you would definitely favor Barca in that matchup. Then they get in the closing week both Dignitas and TSM. Their 3 remaining matchups are arguably your 3 top teams right now besides Vitality, and 3 teams who can easily pop off and beat the Bricks in their current state as well, and that would mean they are down in relegation matches automatically. Even if they win one of those matchups as well, a very dangerous future for the Bricks. They got to get together and win at least one of those matchups, but either way, it seems very apparent right now one of our relegation teams will likely be the Bricks if they cannot win against Barca next week, because TSM and especially Dignitas as well, considerable threats out there in terms of strength of schedule. They are the most worried team I'd be about right now, that being the Bricks. And so far what we've seen has just not been what we saw 3 months back. But as always, hope you guys all enjoy this breakdown. I'll see you guys back here, of course, next Monday, breaking down week 4 as we close out this season already. I really am hoping, guys, let's just pray that in the future we get a few extra weeks on this season, or at least a few extra matches as well. It just seems terrible to see teams that do poorly one week, you know, they do great now one week as well, but it's just not enough to actually keep them in the results right now. A team like the Bricks should not be down there. A team like Dignitas as well, you know, they only have a few matches left themselves, and we are seeing some of the top teams in EU at the very bottom of the standings. But as always, I hope you guys all enjoy. I will see you back here next week, and until then, take care of yourselves. Enjoy Rocket League.